Right now at 11, a Lebanon teacher is on administrative leave after being accused of slapping their students. We have the latest details coming up.
Plus, it's a dance party in Pittsburgh as the Oregon Ducks are moving on to the next round of the NCAA tournament. How they got the job done in the Steel City, that answer is still to come.
A wet day tomorrow and Saturday. I'll let you know how much rain you can expect as KEZI 9 News at 11 begins right now.
Live, local, late breaking. This is KEZI 9 News at 11.
New tonight, we're hearing from the Bethel School District Superintendent about the closing of Clear Lake Elementary School after a meeting to clarify the closure wrapped up just hours ago. Thanks for staying up late with us tonight. I'm Ariel Yacobazi. Now, Superintendent Craig Sproles says the main purpose of the meeting is to discuss the school closure. He says they want to make sure they can offer a really rounded, comprehensive program at all their elementary schools, which is part of the goal. They decided to give Clear Lake the axe because of the declining enrollment in the Bethel district. And he tells us this is a statewide issue.
This is a discussion that's happening across school districts in Oregon right now. The public school funding model just isn't working to be able to fund schools at the level we need to be able to support our students and families. And so it's part of a larger conversation that I hope is had around how are we funding and supporting public schools.
Sproles says while the number of students they have enrolled drives their budget, closing the school is more of a long-term decision and won't really impact the budget for the next couple of years, since they're not laying off any teachers or staff at the school. Now, those who work at Clear Lake will be moved to other schools in the area. Now, something to keep in mind, these decisions won't come into play until 16 months from now, which would be the following school year after next year. So district officials have about a year and a half to figure out where students will go. And developing news out of Lowell tonight, where several hazmat crews spent some time tonight trying to clean up a hazardous spill. Now, we're told this was in the area of North Moss Street and West 4th Avenue. And here's what we know so far. Crews with Northwest Hazmat Incorporated sent some crews to the area for a diesel spill, and they tell us they think the oil may have spilled, frozen over, then melted again and made its way to the Dexter Reservoir just down the road there. Now, thankfully, crews tell us they were able to stop the oil from getting into the water, but they put feelers out in the reservoir to be extra safe. Now, they say everyone is okay, so there's no need to panic, and they'll be out there in the morning to make sure there is no oil in the water. In other news tonight, the 11th seeded Oregon Ducks are heading to the round of 32 after a big win against 6th seeded South Carolina today. KEZI 9 sports reporter Brett Taylor is joining us live in the studio tonight, and our coverage sponsored by Kendall Subaru. Brett, how exactly did the Ducks get the win this time?
Well, I'll tell you this. It's two words. Jermaine Couisnard. Of course, the transfer from South Carolina had himself a monster performance against his former team. Let's take you straight into Pittsburgh, where all the action was happening and where Couisnard was rolling. First half, Couisnard left wide open from range, and he buries the three. 14 points for him in the first 20 minutes, and the rest still to come in the second half, where Couisnard got back to work. Second shot gets it to fall, and then later on, it's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's in volley. Dante airborne for the slam. Ducks starting to pull away, and then a couple minutes later, the Couisnard show continuing in the Steel City. 40 points for the fifth-year senior, a new career high, in Oregon record as well in the NCAA tournament.
I kind of heard somebody say something on the court to me. That's what got me going. I feel like I'm a competitor, and that's like a guy that I kind of mentored when I was there. So once he hit a three and he got to talking, but it was fun, man. Those guys, they kind of made me, man. I grew a lot. I learned a lot when I was there, so I appreciate the guys more than anything.
Hey, lesson learned. Never talk smack to Jermaine Couisnard. And still to come in the next 20 minutes, we'll hear from KEZI 9 sports reporter Nick Orsini from Pittsburgh, who's got the full post-game recap as the Ducks get set for the first matchup against Crane University in nearly 13 years, Ariel. How about that?
Sounds great. Brett, thank you so much. Now to our top story out of Linn County tonight, where parents are seeking some answers after a teacher there was accused of slapping students. The Lebanon Community School District hasn't released the name of this teacher, but here's what we know so far. The district says on March 7th, the principal of Seven Oak Middle School received reports from students regarding behavior by a teacher in class. That behavior, a teacher who allegedly slapped several students. A parent posting to social media that day saying their 8th grader was one of the students. She tells us 3 other students were slapped in the back of the head, and she was not informed by the school until the day after, when she says school officials had tried to reach her the day of the incident, but misdialed. But we're told the district immediately made a report to DHS and to the school district, and the teacher in question has been on administrative leave ever since. Now, 2 weeks later, parents want more answers.
And a job, we're supposed to be watching over them, taking care of them, and just kind of violate that trust between parents and teachers.
While district officials say they're still investigating, and since it involves a personnel matter, they can't say much right now. But what they can tell us is they take these reports very seriously and are following steps to make sure students are safe. We've also reached out to DHS for comment, and we're still waiting to hear back tonight. Now to a crime alert out of Lynn County, where a man is in jail accused of shooting and killing another man. The Lynn County Sheriff's Office tells us it happened just before 11 last night in the 300 block of Northwest Alder Street in Mill City. Deputies say they found 52-year-old Brian Rendon dead of an apparent gunshot wound. Investigators say 50-year-old Benjamin Harris shot Rendon while he was at Harris's home. Investigators say the two men knew each other and were roommates. Harris is now in the Lynn County Jail charged with second-degree murder. And the driver accused of hitting a mother in Eugene who was pushing her toddler in a stroller right before Christmas is officially behind bars tonight. A new court documents show his blood alcohol content was twice the legal limit. A new affidavit shows a 28-year-old Alexander Brennan was going about 40 miles per hour in his SUV when he hit them on Gillum Road and Elkhorn Drive. Brennan is facing 2 counts of second-degree assault and DUI. Now, an affidavit shows the woman broke both of her legs, her hip, her back, and her skull in the crash. Her son had several skull fractures, a brain injury, and a spleen laceration. We have more information and the GoFundMe link to help them out at KEZI.com.
Now, your Storm Tracker 9 First Alert Forecast with Chief Meteorologist Dylan Robichaud.
In typical March fashion, another cloudy day along the Oregon coast. Here's a look at the time lapse from the city of Florence, and you can see that maybe we had a few pockets of drizzle, but it was a really dry day, all else being equal, as we could see the ships setting into the night sky. All right, so here's what we're tracking for tomorrow. The rain will be arriving along the coast tomorrow morning. It takes its sweet time, really, making it into the valley. So for the weekend, here's what I'm thinking. Saturday will be wet. Sunday, probably the drier of the 2 days. In Cascade snow, only about 2 to 4 inches. That's pretty much all we get this weekend. Storm track goes right into northern California, and we'll be looking at those showers pushing inland probably around late morning to early afternoon. About a ½ inch to an inch in total for Friday and Saturday. If you're along the coast, I would add on maybe a quarter to a ½ inch on top of that. And once you get above 5,000 feet, that's where we get that accumulating snow. Out there today, man, it was another warm day. 68 degrees here in Roseburg, 59 there in Florence. As we go towards tonight, it'll be chilly, dropping down in the mid-40s. But generally speaking, next week, we kind of plateau in the 50s. It'll be chilly every single day. Ariel?
All right, Dylan, thank you. We have a series of updates for you tonight. First up, the Forest Glen senior residence that suddenly shut down last month will officially have no water come May. The mayor of Canyonville says they have to shut down the water on May 1st. Christine Morgan says the property owner hasn't paid the bill for 5 months now. She says not once have they reached out to request a payment plan or request their service to be shut off. The center no longer is licensed as a residential care facility. 3 agencies are working to find residents new homes, and right now there are 40 residents still living there, along with 6 former employees and 6 family members. And the Eugene 4J School Board has picked a familiar face to lead the district on an interim basis after the current superintendent resigned. Last night, they voted to enter negotiations with Colt Gill to serve as interim superintendent. If you recognize that name, Gill used to be the superintendent in the Bethel School District before he left to serve as the Oregon Deputy of Superintendent of Public Instruction. Board members say they took input from the community and came up with a list of characteristics and qualifications, and they say Gill's experience, there he is, and values mirror the community's desire for someone who can unify, uplift, and lead the district with integrity and transparency. They narrowed the candidates to 2 and interviewed them last night before picking Gill as their top choice.
We're proud to bring a leader of his caliber to our district, and we believe that the successful initiatives in improving graduation rates, advocating for educational and equitable education, and implementing innovative programs will serve Eugene well.
This decision comes after a mutual separation agreement with outgoing Superintendent Andy Dye after a reported internal investigation, letter of reprimand, and string of closed meetings. Gill will start April 1st. Dye will be available for consultation to help with the transition. And an update now on contract negotiations between PeaceHealth and Sacred Heart Home Care and Hospice nurses. The Oregon Nurses Association says yesterday's meeting did not bring them closer to a deal. PeaceHealth offered a 6% raise in the first year of the contract, 3.5% in the second and third years, then 3% in the final year for a 16% total. Now, PeaceHealth says its goal is to increase wages, but it couldn't meet ONA's latest proposal. In a statement today, ONA says PeaceHealth did not offer a fair agreement, and they want to be paid as much as their colleagues at Riverbend and other facilities. In other news, some Oregon voters are disappointed that Donald Trump declined to add his information to the Oregon voters pamphlet. Now, historically, candidates pay a fee of about $3,000 and give a statement about themselves, like their previous government experiences and policies they've supported, to help persuade voters to cast their ballots. But that's not the case for the former president here in Oregon. Longtime voters say this is a disservice to voters for the former president to not add his information to the state's voters pamphlet. They also believe it did nothing to help the Republican Party in traditionally Democratic Oregon. And others tell us Trump's decision is a bit of a head scratcher.
This is just adding fuel to their fire of his disregard for democratic processes, really, and caring about what people think. He doesn't care, really, unless they think he's a great guy.
I think candidates need to help us find unbiased information so we can more fairly adjust how we want to vote.
Now, our reporter did reach out to the Oregon Secretary of State's office, and they tell us no reason was given as to why former President Trump and his campaign declined to be included in the voters' pamphlet. And in a follow-up tonight, Conestoga Wagon in Creswell is continuing its success, officially welcoming its first tenant. Co-creator Ed Gunderston started testing the wagons on the backs of bikes. His partner William Kent says the process is going well, and a houseless resident is trying out one of the wagons. You can find out how to donate to this project on our website, KEZI.com.